Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's BBQ Joints. In this episode of Barbecue City Guide, I get a chance to talk to Adrian Miller, the soul food scholar, credentials a mile long, stint at the White House, James Beard Award, just crazy. So excited. We're talking about Colorado. It's not a city; it's a state, obviously, but it's spread out, so that way it makes more sense to do not just Denver, but the entire state of Colorado. But we get deeply into Denver. Outside of Denver, we go to different like ski spots, resort areas. So that's really cool, really interesting, really useful. Great insight into every place. Love talking to Adrian. Really appreciate his contribution to this. If you like what you see, please subscribe. We'll be adding at least one of these a week, plus interviews and trips to barbecue joints and to wood piles and cool stuff. So thank you and enjoy. Good morning, Adrian. How you doing?
Good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How's your day going so far?
So far so good. It's a little early, but I got the
Sorry.
day ahead of me.
Do you have a fun week or a busy week?
Pretty busy week just with work stuff. I have a day job. Work for the Colorado Council of Churches, so just got a lot of
Oh,
stuff going on with that.
well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that keeps you really busy.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to reach out because I know that you're an expert on barbecue, and especially in Colorado. And if you have one day, say you have one day during the week, or if you have a weekend in Colorado, where to go? And I'm kind of doing city guides, but I know Colorado's kind of spread out. And then also we had talked offline about potentially some barbecue joints at ski resorts or resorts that people go to. So I would love any information we can get. We'd love.
Oh, absolutely. So, the interesting thing about Colorado is that we once had a very strong barbecue tradition, but we lost it. We
Oh,
were known for lamb barbecue. In fact, if you go to a knowledgeable butcher and ask for a Denver rack, they're going to give you lamb ribs.
oh, I didn't know
And
that.
for whatever reason, we lost that in the 50s. So the last few decades, we've really been getting imports from other strong barbecue areas.
Okay,
So being where Colorado is, the strongest influences are Kansas City and Texas,
that
Central
makes sense.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the dominant styles that we have here.
Okay.
And the other style, which is an abomination, is somebody will cook their meat and then they'll have regional sauces on the table so you can customize it. And I just think that's whacked. But anyway,
Yes, I agree. It's
yeah.
uh,
So a few places. If you come to Denver, I highly recommend a place called Boney's
okay.
Smokehouse. It's in downtown Denver. It is actually you have to go downstairs. It's kind of like you go past. This is Colorado, so you go past a dispensary, a popcorn
Oh,
place,
that's hilarious.
and then you can then go by a bakery, and then you go downstairs. It's a couple from Florida, an African American couple, and they're just doing really solid Southern style barbecue.
Oh, great.
Uh, Fantastic ribs and sausage. Those are the things that I really like there. And then the southern side. So they have great greens in addition to the traditional barbecue and potato salad and other things.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah. True story. I had to cancel a blind date once because I left there smelling like bacon and I didn't have time to bathe, change clothes. I couldn't find any Febreze. So that just tells you that it's got real smoke flavor going
That
on
is
there.
important, though. That's a great side. That's the key side.
Yeah. Another place is Burnt Ends, and that's in the southern suburb of Denver. It's called the Denver Tech Center.
Okay.
That's an import from Kansas City. So this is their second joint they've opened up. So they have good burnt ends, and then also just kind of your typical Kansas City barbecue.
Okay.
So that's
And
pretty
then
good
they have
stuff.
two locations in Colorado, or two,
Oh, just one here and then one in Kansas
and one's
City.
in Kansas
So
City.
we're
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
the other one's in Kansas City. Yeah.
awesome.
And then there's a place I really love called Roaming Buffalo, again in the southern part of Denver. It's near University of Denver. And Roaming Buffalo is interesting. The guy Coy Webb and his wife Rachel, they're from Texas, and he's a chef, and he's been trying to create a Colorado style of barbecue. So it's unusual because they have the traditional Texas style of meats like briskets and other things, but they also do lamb and bison.
Nice.
So they have a pulled lamb sandwich and they have bison ribs. And they play around. They have pork belly, burnt ends, and they're just doing a lot of creative stuff.
Well, that makes sense. That does feel a little bit more Colorado for sure.
Yeah, and they have some gamey sausages as well. So they have a venison sausage that you can have there. So yeah, it's just really trying to get into the kind of local food traditions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Another place that is it's unclear whether they're going to be open or not when people watch this video. They had a food truck and they were looking for a brick and mortar spot, but they've had some difficulties getting a permit to open a place, but it's called Owl Bear.
Owl
I don't
Bear.
know if you're a dungeon, yeah, if you're a Dungeon and Dragons guy, but it's
Hmm.
kind of reference to that.
Hmm.
Um, the guy who owns it actually apprenticed under Aaron Franklin in Austin,
Okay.
and he opened up that spot, and they just really had some problems reopening, going to the brick and mortar. So if people come to Colorado, they should definitely check and see if that is open, and they have a Facebook page, and I think that's the best way to find
I
out.
want to think I might follow them on Instagram. Is that possible? At this, do they maybe
Um,
have? They might. It seems like everyone does these days, but some reason, Owl Bear sounds familiar in that context. Maybe not.
yeah, well, yeah, I would check them.
Yeah,
I would check definitely.
I'll put all
But their
links,
Facebook.
all available links to them, so that way.
And then, there's some interesting barbecue happening outside of the Denver area. There's a place in Westminster called GQ Championship Barbecue. And this is a guy who just earned his chops on the competition circuit, which is a story you hear for a lot of barbecue joints around the country.
Yeah, it's
And he
familiar.
opened up. Yeah, and he's a perennial winner of kind of Best in Denver awards. Again, very just the basic, ribs, brisket, chicken, sausage, but he does a really good job there.
Is that considered east of Denver or
Westminster is north of Denver.
north of? Okay, okay,
Yeah, north of Denver. Another place north of Denver, northwest, is called Wayne's Smoke Shack. It's in a town called Superior.
okay.
And Wayne's is run very much like a Texas barbecue joint. It's got the Texas barbecue aesthetic. They're serving it on butcher paper and the tin
Nice.
plates and all that. But really good stuff. It's one of those places where they serve until they run out,
Okay.
and they typically run out by 1:30. So,
Nice.
if you're in between Boulder and Denver or heading from Denver to Boulder, that's definitely a place you want to hit.
Yeah, what a great recommendation. Excellent.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's some interesting barbecue happening outside of Denver and kind of these resort towns, especially where people go to ski. So just a quick list of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
In Durango, Colorado, which is in southwest Colorado, there's a place called Sirius Texas Barbecue.
Okay.
And they've been on the scene for a long time. And they've opened up another spot in Loveland, which is north of Denver, in between Denver and Fort Collins.
Oh, okay.
So I like their stuff. There's a place called Nordy's in Loveland. Again, just kind of basic barbecue, but they do it really, really well. There's a place called Georgia Boys in Longmont.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think their pulled pork is probably ribs and pulled pork is probably what I like there the most. And then in Steamboat Springs, there are two really good barbecue joints.
Really?
Yeah, there's a place called Steamboat Smokehouse. Good ribs, and one of the things I remember about Steamboat Smokehouse is it's one of those places where you throw your peanut shells on the floor after you eat them.
It's that type of place. That's killer.
Yeah, yeah. And there's another place called Double Z Barbecue,
Okay.
which I remember them mostly for their barbecue sandwiches.
Okay.
And then in a place called Basalt, there's a place called Smoke. And Basalt is not too far from Aspen because people like you and me, well, I don't know if you're a baller or not, but people like me can't live in Aspen. So,
I think it takes a certain even if I was a baller, it takes a certain type of baller to live in Aspen.
yeah.
I visited once and I'm like, wait, this place is different than many places on the planet.
That's another place making really good barbecue.
Okay.
So if you're in the Aspen area, and then we have a couple of chains that basically moved in here from other states,
Okay.
and they've opened up in mountain towns. So there's a place called Moe's,
Mm-hmm.
which started out in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
A place called Edwards, not too far from Vail.
Okay.
So if you're skiing in Vail and you have a lot of time, you might want to drive over to Moe's. But they've opened up several spots in Denver. Solid Southern style barbecue, Alabama
Nice.
based. And also Jim and Nick's. I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh
Jim
yeah,
and
yeah,
Nick's.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a few places here in the Denver area.
Okay.
And then if you go south to Colorado Springs, there's a place called Rudy's
Mhm.
Barbecue, which is an import from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, they're
They
dotted,
opened,
kind of dotted
yeah,
all over Texas and Arizona. Yeah.
yeah. So they
Oh.
they now have one in Colorado Springs and also in Greeley.
Oh, interesting.
Col-
Okay, and that's an
Yeah,
option. Yeah, it definitely is an option. Yes.
yeah. And then in terms of local chains,
Hmm.
there was a place called Brothers that opened up in the late '90s, and I'd actually give them credit for starting Denver's barbecue scene.
And they're one of the
Because
first people I heard about in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've opened up multiple locations. These days the barbecue is,
Okay.
but it's just kind of standard stuff. I would never turn down an invitation if you rolled into town and said, "Hey, Adrian, let's check out Brothers." I would roll
Okay.
over there.
All right.
But I give them credit for kind of really breaking open the barbecue scene. I think people saw their success and then started moving here. And if we were to talk in 6 months from now, I would have four more places to tell you about because Denver's barbecue scene is exploding, as well as the city. The city is really thriving and growing right now, so we're attracting a lot of talent from around the country.
Well, we should. Let's talk in 6 months too. I think that would be. I think it'd be great just to have an update if there are updates, and then at least I'm gonna have a companion blog post with this, so I could add joints if you shoot me an email and say, hey, these places are great places that have opened up. I would love to keep it going and growing.
Yeah. Let me tell you about one more place. I'm
Oh
sorry I
yeah, yeah,
forgot.
yeah. There's no, and
Yeah.
I have another question after that too.
Okay. There's a food truck here that I discovered a couple weeks ago, and friends had told me about it,
Mhm.
and it's called True Carlo Tex-Mex Barbecue.
Okay,
So this is a guy out of Texas, and he's making traditional kind of Central Texas barbecue, but he's putting a little Latino spin on it.
nice.
So instead of the baked beans, you have charro beans with a little cilantro and chopped onion on top. But really good stuff. I
Okay.
really like the flavor of what he's doing.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's kind of the progression that barbecue's going, even in Texas too. That kind of hybrid version of like flavors from the city or a specific region, and then they kind of, or from someone's heritage, and then they kind of bring it into either Central Texas.
And I'm happy we're bringing in all these other styles, but I really hope that other people kind of follow what Roaming Buffalo is doing and try to create a regional style for Colorado.
They should. I think
Yeah.
that's a smart idea.
Yeah. I think lamb and also vegetables, because Colorado's kind of known as a healthy place. I
Uh-huh.
think if somebody can figure out how to successfully smoke certain vegetables and pull that all together, I think we could have our own regional style.
Oh, for sure. Are there any places in Boulder itself, or is it too?
There aren't. I only know of a chain. There's a place called. Actually, there's two places. So there's a place called KT's Barbecue, and so they have a spot in Boulder and one in Denver. A solid barbecue,
Yeah.
not spectacular. One thing I do love at KT's is they have a barbecue parfait.
Oh,
So it's a layer of meat, a layer of coleslaw, a layer of beans, and they just alternate that, and then it's garnished with the spare rib.
oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I think I've seen that at some barbecue festivals. I think Jack Stack or Jack Fiorello's or
Hmm.
something out in the city was the first place I saw that. But KT's has that. There's also a place called Ghost Barbecue in
Oh,
kind of central Boulder. And Ghost Barbecue, the thing that's distinctive about that place for me is that they have a jackfruit barbecue sandwich.
interesting.
So that kind of shows that next frontier. Have you ever had smoked jackfruit?
I haven't. I've seen it at the market. I've seen like a package of it, and I thought, yeah, I've never had that before.
I gotta say, man, it tasted very similar in texture. It was similar taste and texture to pulled pork.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, the sandwich was so much like pork that even though he was telling, there was a vegan convention. I was talking to the owner. There
Uh-huh.
was a vegan convention, and people thought he was lying when he told them that it was fruit and it wasn't.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, see that means you pulled it off. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, smoked meats wise, like, are there any really amazing pastrami or corned beef places in Denver? Say in Denver, are there places that you go for, or for say for French dip, or for something that's kind of meat related that like a person loves barbecue would also want to get?
Yeah. So there's a place called Old Major, which is a restaurant in a kind of a really trendy neighborhood in Denver,
Okay.
called Ojai. That's pretty good meat, and they're dedicated to just interesting cuts of meat and
Okay.
smoked meats, and yeah. So I would say Old Major.
Okay.
We've got some interesting delis
Hmm.
here, but in terms of like
Traditional.
anything that measures up to Katz's in New York and stuff, I don't know if we have that.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a great place that closed. I mean, some of the places I'm thinking about have closed in the last few years. So
Okay, well that happens, and I just if things pop up, I'll contact you and say, hey, is this a good place? But I was always wondering because I know a lot of people when they do travel they want to get a pastrami sandwich but generally you want to go to New York or go somewhere
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
looking for if you're specifically craving it.
yeah. Denver is more of a steak place. A lot of burgers, and we're just really venturing into the smoked meats kind of category. So people are earning, doing what they can and then opening up places. But I just don't
Nice,
think we're quite there yet. Some
nice,
bright spots here and there.
excellent. No, I appreciate all the guidance. This has been great. This has been invaluable, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And thank you so much. And if we've missed anything, let me know, and I'll make sure I add it to the either to the intro or to the notes.
Okay, sounds great.
That's
Thank you
it.
so much for having me on
Oh,
your
thank you
podcast.
so much. Have a great week.
All right, peace.